intervention in the punishment of the wicked and the reward of the good. The same with all the other unsolved mysteries like 9/11 and so on. Let's hope that God is intervening to finally punish the wicked. I've set up recently on 9/11 this year the International Historical Commission for 9/11. It's the first gathering of historians to examine this matter. We'll have our first full meeting in The Hague on 9/11 in 2020, and I invite all historians, fully qualified historians, who want to participate. One from each country will be the commission, and we will examine all the data and the evidence as to who actually did the events of 9/11 from a purely historical perspective. We're not pursuing this as a legal matter. Other courts, other inquiries can do that, and they're beginning to. Our duty is to find the truth as historians, which is why I studied my degrees in history, why I did my PhD in history, because that history is the way we find out the truth about the past. So, one way that God intervenes in the world to punish the wicked and reward the good is by finding out the truth, and by, the work of scholars painstakingly discovering truth. I have the highest respect for it, and that's my chosen path. Thirdly, the other final herikot is the recognition that God revealed himself and the Torah at Sinai, or will fully reveal himself again to bring about the end of days. Well, I can accept this myself, that yes, something happened at Sinai. It must have been a historical event. I've read, when I was young, George Mendenhall, The 10th Generation, about the reconstruction of what might have been going on there. Something was happening to leave this lasting impression upon that tribe and those people. And something miraculous was going on. There was a revelation. And as I say, as a Druid, I can totally understand what was going on. He saw the cosmic burning bush, which to me is a symbol of the Sephiroth. It's the tree of life, is what he saw. The burning bush is the 10 Sephiroth, all on fire, and the interconnections and the magic. That's the download of the Kabbalah that Moses got, which is the oral law. He then tried to write it down as the 10 Commandments, but that's just the written law. It hardly does justice to the vision of the burning bush, the tree of life. You need the Kabbalah, you need to study Isaac Luria and the great Kabbalistic sages, the Zohar, to understand what that bush is really on fire with. And it's on fire with passion for love and ecstasy and the human right to happiness and the human right to justice, which is the apportioning out of happiness to everybody. Injustice is somebody hoarding all the happiness, like an Epstein monster, and not letting, happiness go to everybody, including your victims. The trouble with evil is it's premised on a false notion that my ego, will have pleasure if you are caused suffering. That's just, kindergarten level of ethics. I mean, people that think like that, they really have to go back to kindergarten and relearn from the very scratch what it is to be a human. We are interconnected, we are interbonded as human beings. We all come from the Most High, and therefore we have duties and responsibilities to each other, and we have ultimately the duty of love, which is the recognition of each other in the mirror of being. And also God will fully reveal himself to bring about the end of days. Yes, well, as a Hegelian, I don't believe that that is other than the onward flow of enlightenment beginning to saturate history more. I'm with Moses Hess on this one, who wrote his wonderful early treatise about how love will eventually rule the world and we will live in a communist world, which is what inspired Marx and Engels to do their thing. Only they left out God. Moses Hess was a very clever man, as Isaiah Berlin pointed out, and he left God in, We can't do this work without Yahweh, without God, without all the gods. And so, yes, God will fully reveal himself, and is doing. But this is an educational work through scholars, through sages, through rabbis, through teachers, through yourself, in your own heart, as you gradually study and learn more, and practice your meditation more, and pray more and visit sacred sites and talk to the enemy. You know, if you're an Israeli, go and meet a Palestinian, go and fall in love with a Palestinian, and vice versa. Go and befriend a Christian, learn about their views, and so on and so on. The more we recirculate this chi, this universal energy of enlightenment, then gradually God is revealing himself through history. And that's what my dear friend, who's sadly dead, Brian Visiondance, who helped me with the Stonehenge work, was Jewish and New Age kind of Jewish, and he had this lovely vision of social acupuncture. That's why he likes Stonehenge. It's one of those places where the cosmic consciousness of mankind is focalized, and we need to liberate and free these energy points and get the whole world dancing in harmony and bliss. He's dead. I went to the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem and put a prayer into Yahweh on his behalf. So I remember you, Brian, on this day. And let us continue to work, therefore, to bring about this fuller revelation of God. And the end of days doesn't mean literally history comes to an end. This is a total mistake of puerile, infantile, biblical readers. It means history becomes completed, fulfilled. And the Greek word telos is the fulfillment of something. So, this is a mistake to think that history will come to an end in some sort of final war. And the people that think that are dangerous and mistaken and need re-educating. No, it renews, because just like Rosh Hashanah is a renewal of the old year, when we can do things better, and lives are renewed, if you believe in Gilgul, reincarnation, as I do, and as the great Kabbalists and Sufis and Buddhists and Druids have always done. So our lives are renewable. We perfect them like a spiral each time we go round. So that's a time to reflect. And as I discovered also this week, the Earth itself is on this spiral. So the Earth is our teacher. Here we are on Gaia. She's our headmistress at the moment, all of us in incarnation on her. And she herself is travelling in these spirals, which I've discovered the mathematics of. The Earth is spinning at in unbelievable speeds. Let me just quote the amount. So 67,000 miles per hour, 67,000 miles an hour, we're spinning around the sun, which is 3 kilometres a second. So in that time, a second, we have just moved 3 kilometres, which is fast. 67,000 miles in an hour. I mean, the Earth is only 22,000 miles in diameter, so I've just gone around the world 3 times in 1 hour. I mean, I've been speaking for about an hour, so Gaia, my headmistress, our headmistress, is moving pretty fast. That's quite powerful. We should respect her more. But hang on, it's even more than that, because the whole solar system, that means the sun and the Earth together and all the other planets locked into this wonderful dance, we're all moving at around the galaxy, around the galactic centre. Our arm is moving around. And that's moving at 448,000 miles an hour. Nearly 500,000 miles an hour. Well, that to me is incalculable. I've been in cars doing 100 miles an hour occasionally. I've flown in planes doing, 600 miles an hour or something. But here we are doing 500,000 miles an hour as a whole solar system. Well, that's wheels within wheels. That's what Ezekiel tried to express in the Bible. And that's what I think some of the Druid markings at places like in Ireland, where you have these wonderful spiral shapes, or Gavrinis in Brittany. The Druid artists were trying to put in their spiral art this sense of awe at the spiraling of the universe, which they intuited. And you see it on the spirals of your fingertips, your hair, and the galaxies. And it's also there in our lives and the synchronicities that occur as our lives intersect and cross destinies with each other. This is the pattern. Now, what is it that's standing underneath all this? Aristotle said the unmoved mover is love. And I think Christianity can affirm that. The unmoved mover of all the spiral dance is love, which is the Christian way of talking about Yahweh, the cosmic interconnectedness. And Yah means connectedness in Hebrew. If you read my book on the Kabbalah runes, and I link Hebrew and runic alphabets together, and Ogham and so on, you'll see that Yah is the interconnectedness of the hand and makes us human. It's also there in the word relativity in Hebrew. So, Yahweh is the interconnectivity that underlies everything as love. And at that point, I want to move on to my final point, because today is also St. Michael's Day. And St. Michael is, again, a very important archangel, both in Judaism but also in Christianity. And Michael, it is St. Michael's Day, the 29th of September. And I'm going to read a bit from what's called the Golden Legend, which is Jacob de Varaine's wonderful text about all the saints' days. He was the Archbishop of Genoa in the 1200s, and he wrote this anthology of all the sacred saints' days, which every priest had in most Christian churches throughout Europe for several hundred years. Nowadays it's quite hard to get hold of. It was originally obviously written in Latin. And he tells in wonderful detail the stories. So we've just had St. Justina's Day, then Saints Cosmos and Damien, and now it's Archangel Michael's. So Michael is the judge of souls. He plays the role after death of weighing souls, according to Christian iconography. He's also the captain of God. His name means who is like to God. And there have been various sightings of him. The Mount Gargano in Apulia, there was a mountain near the city called Sipontus. And in the year 390, there was a man called Garganus who took his name from the mountain and has this vision of the Archangel Michael. There was another one that occurred in 710, not far from Avranches, here in France. And again, a church was built. And then there are other visions. The fourth apparition consists in an intellectual vision, which is the understanding of the hierarchies of the angels. And this is to do with the work of Dionysius the Areopagite, who understood how all these different angels interlock, they're interconnected. Now this is explained in more detail in esoteric writings in the Kabbalah and Christian mysticism. And there are various orders of angels and archangels, including each of us has a guardian angel, as Jacobus explains. But Michael is right at the top of the hierarchy of these angels. And in the book of Enoch, he also figures. He's someone that transports Enoch at various times in the Macabre, the chariot, up to the heaven worlds. And Metatron also is another name for, one of these very high angel beings. Now, what are we to make of all that? Is this for real? I mean, what are angels? Many people don't believe in them anymore, even though Lorna Byrne, the Irish mystic, claims to be able to see them. And my partner has interviewed her, she seems to be telling the truth. There's a wonderful book by Matthew Fox and my friend Rupert Sheldrake called The Physics of Angels, where they discuss what angels are made of. They don't seem to be made of matter in the normal way. They're made of intelligence, they're made of information, they're made of wisdom, they're made of the Shekinah energy, which is the goddess herself. I don't know what human souls are made of when we die and our soul leaves the body. What is that made of? What fine substance of etheric nature is that made of? I don't know. But I think it is made of something. and it's probably made of something that we might want to call consciousness. And that I think angelic bodies are going to be made of a version of the same thing. The angelic body will be a body of consciousness, so to speak, and that seems to be borne out by the evidence. And that's why, on occasion, these angels can appear in history and have manifestations. Well, today is a very sacred day, therefore. Also, in the book of Revelations, it tells us there was a great battle in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon fought with his angels, and they prevailed not. And Jacobus explains, for when Lucifer wanted to be equal to God, the Archangel Michael, standard bearer of the celestial host, marched up and expelled Lucifer and his followers out of heaven, and shut them up in this dark air until the day of judgment. They're not allowed to live in heaven or in the upper part of the air, because that is a bright and pleasant place, nor on the earth with us, lest they do too much harm. Now this is explained in much more detail in the books of Enoch, which I've done a big commentary on. But fundamentally, the storyline seems to be that Lucifer, or Satan, is a symbol of pride, hubris. And I see in Brexit, this is why I see it as a Luciferian project. There's no doubt Boris Johnson and his cronies, Cummings, are highly intelligent, but they have a Luciferian intelligence. They're committing a hubris, thinking that Britain is some sort of Luciferian centre that can take on and assault verbally the rest of Europe, assault the identity of British Europeans like me, people that are proud of our transcontinental identity, but people like the Scots that they abuse verbally in Parliament all the time, or many people in Ireland constantly. These people have Luciferian intelligence, which is all about the hubris of me. Me, Boris Johnson, I know better than all the experts, all the philosophers, all the economists, all the social scientists, all the civil servants, even all the Tory party, moderate Remainers. No, I, Lucifer, Boris Johnson, am going to do hubris. Well, sorry, mate, but Michael, it's the Archangel Michael's day, and he's saying no to hubris, no to Lucifer, no to the devil, no to the dragon, and ultimately no to arrogance. The point of this story is that each of us in incarnation has to live these stories again and again. We have to learn humility. Otherwise we get clobbered by, the great Michael, who is he's the patron saint of the police. Once when I was in London, living in London and working at university, I popped into Victoria, near Victoria. There's a wonderful Westminster cathedral. It's the Roman Catholic Cathedral of London, where Cardinal Hume was based at the time. And I popped in on St Michael's Day, and lo and behold, about 100 policemen were all coming out, dressed in their uniforms, senior officers, with lots of badges and all the rest of it. And I realised that today is St Michael is also the patron saint of policemen and military intelligence officers, and the military worldwide. In many countries this is the case. And so in the Catholic Association of Police Officers, they all go to Westminster Cathedral for a service, a mass on this day, and they're probably doing that now. And good luck to them, because the point is policemen have to obey the cosmic law. They have to obey the difference between right and wrong in their work. Too many policemen around the world are corrupt. They're not obeying that. And so St Michael's Day is a chance for the policemen among us to reflect on their virtue and whether they've done the right thing, whether they're lying and cheating and stealing, or whether they're honourable and decent, because ultimately our souls will be weighed after death. It's not just sort of we can get away with it and therefore nobody knows. No, everything we do is taken account of. So that's why Michael is important. And then Jacobus Verain goes on and explains in more detail about this day. He talks about guardian angels. And he says, thirdly, we should honour the angels because they are our brothers and fellow sisters and fellow citizens. All the elect are assumed one day to the angelic orders, some to the highest, some to the lowest, and some to the middle orders, according to the diversity of their merits. It seems to be a belief in the church that the good, the saints, when they die, they ascend to join with these angelic presences. You know, I rather like that. I'll be very happy with just the library in heaven, but you know, if there are angelic librarians, I look forward to meeting them. So, today we honour the angels in general, and it's not only St Michael's Day, but it's also the day of all the angels. And the Catholic Church has now included Raphael and Gabriel in the celebrations for today. Sir George Trevelyan, who was a dear friend of mine, was a great fan of St Michael's, and as an anthroposophist, he knew that Rudolf Steiner set up the esoteric section of the Spiritual School of Science on this day, St Michael's Day, and gave some important lectures. Sir George believed that the St Michael's Mount and the ley lines of England passing through Avebury are all sacred to Michael, and there's another line that intersects sacred to Mary. I'm not going to, comment on that, apart from to say that in Chinese geomancy, these telluric earth currents channel what's called qi, and that the earth goddess Gaia is a living, breathing being like we are. And just as our human bodies have currents of qi which can be tapped into in acupuncture and massage and so on for healing, why can't the earth? That was Brian Vision Lance's point about acupuncture in the geomancy of the planet. I think the Druids at Stonehenge and Avebury knew these things, these mysteries, and were humble enough to receive them. My friend John Michel, who's no longer with us, wrote books about this, and I suspend judgment, but that doesn't mean that I cynically am sceptical. It means I'm open to insight and revelation. And why shouldn't the earth be sacred? Why shouldn't it have its energy currents, just as the human body does? You can feel them when you go to special places. So today is often a pilgrimage site. I know that in Brighton, Stanmer Park, where my children are often associated with my partner there, is working with Stanmer Park Preservation Trust. They have special festivals at this time of year there. So, and throughout, Britain and elsewhere in Europe, the sites associated with St Michael are important. And I think that's about bringing the sacred back into consciousness for humanity. That was Christ's mission. It's the mission of all the angels. And we can use different words. We can say the gods, we can say the Dakinis, we can say the Devas, the beneficent spiritual supernatural beings that guard mankind, the kami, as they're called in the Shinto religion. We humans are really ignorant of all these mysteries, and we should be respectful and humble on this day, which is also the New Year's Day. So I'm going to finish finally with a poem to commemorate this important day. I wrote this when I visited Mont Saint-Michel in Normandy some years ago. And if you haven't been, I hope that you'll be inspired to visit after this talk. The abbey is way up on this magic mountain that overlooks the English Channel. I visited it and I went and sat in the abbey, which is a fully fledged, beautiful abbey church, like Arundel Cathedral or something. Large, and it was all built by stone, hauled up this mountain. And then there's a courtyard, which is still preserved, medieval courtyard, like an old ancient abbey, like Salisbury Cathedral or something. And there it is on the top of a mountain in the English Channel. The thing about Mont Saint-Michel that I discovered, which was very interesting, is that after the Battle of Agincourt, when the French aristocracy were mostly killed off by the English slaughter, and not only during the fight, but also Henry V captured a load of knights and had them killed in cold blood after the battle. Those that escaped managed to get to Mont Saint-Michel, which gave them sanctuary. And the English were never able to capture Mont Saint-Michel. It remained a place of safety for the flower of French aristocracy and knighthood and chivalry. And I learned that when I went to visit, and I found it very interesting. I was ashamed of the treatment of the French by the English, not least by the Black Prince during the siege of Limoges, when he killed the inhabitants of that beautiful city near me, not least of the shameful killing of the inspired prophetess Jeanne d'Arc. So no country has a monopoly of truth and enlightenment. England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, France, Belgium, Holland, Spain, we're all beginners. We're all beginners in this path of fidelity. Israel too, Palestine. We should all help each other, as they've been saying in the UN speeches at the General Assembly. We should all help each other to more virtue, not increase the sufferings and pains that we humans face. There's enough of that on this planet. We need to free up the military spending that we're putting on this planet for alleviation of the poor and the disadvantaged, the sick. We should have a universal sort of healthcare scheme in the whole of Europe, like in Britain, the National Health Service. Instead of privatising that, we should be extending it across the whole of Europe, in my opinion. Britain should stay in the European Union and bring some of our gifts to our European compatriots. And one of them would be a National Health Service that would be pan-European. I would fight for that if I could be joined by colleagues. And I was very impressed by the Labour Party speech by Jeremy Corbyn, talking for a national education service. He talked about free education at nursery, kindergarten, right on through university. He talked about abolishing tuition fees. These are very noble aspirations that he's coming out with. How could it be funded? Demilitarising the planet, demilitarising our country, scrapping nuclear weapons, stopping spending so much money on the military, intelligence services, letting Assange out of prison and giving him a knighthood. Okay, I'm going to finish there, and I'm going to read my poem, which is called Resurrection Song. Sometimes I just have to put it in poetry. Poem 502 in my corpus, it's called Resurrection Song, Meditations at the Merveille. And this is written in about 2006, I think. Arising now, returning to the implacable solitude where the words run back into themselves, like rivers underground, back to their source. Your silence, God, Goddess, engulfs me, ship homecoming through the headlands into the heart, into the harbour of anchorage, from sharp, swift storms, briefly sheltering. The ancient abbey, its honeystone walls, block on block, bastioned into an ascent on ultimate perspectives, within which silence hovers, fertile with dynamic action, trinities, quaternities, monisms, essential unities, blazing out everywhere, within, without, beyond, below, before, ahead. There is nothing here which cannot become explained through love. Nothing in the cosmos, reaching out far into the multi-corners of the pluriverse. Everything makes it stand on this, is launched from and to this, becomes this, finally, the one huge ecstasy of the eternal changeling, becoming forever, parting and returning lovers. Even you, Messiah, one such, descendant of Solomon, wisdom's standard bearer on the thresholds of paradise, usherer into the portals of the intimate kingdom, you too were longing always for the holy instant of ultimacy. Your grasp reaching out further than you could into the blue heavens, darkening as your silence went unheeded, and your heart broke blood on us and for the earth. More than this, ancient tragedies tell us, recounting and rehearsing all those plots and destinies, darkly interweaving like the rush of waterfall waters, and the winter sky at dusk, and the snow looming. Look on them all, those God's doings. Muse and ponder on our several shores and tides, undoings, voyagings and returnings, startings and endings. Ponder if we can. Hew peace from these shattered blocks, cracked crystals of frozen glass, on the waste steps of suffering. Ask if your soul knows Nemesis's eternal power that kills and heals in dying, loses, and in that instant, losing all fear, is reconciled, far out beyond death, to the holiest stars of time's real presences. And in that deepest part of your thoughts' secret codes, and in your smiles, although one, becomes love again, where the spirit whispers its eternal unions and reunions, makes ages, creatings, birthings, joys on joys whirled like leaves, spiralling into and out, beyond each other's fragility. Mating and coupling each other, becoming whole again through love, all its tapestries, hanging like constellations on our zodiacal journeying, framed to remember, to recall, to teach us, each one and all and more, the patterning itself, primal, zeroed in on everything and nothing, there where the laughing rabbi's gone, beckoning homewards. Here and everywhere, everything becoming light, moving at stationary speed, relative to which everything is grass, tree bark, hillside, stream, kiss, child, saint, killer, mother, planet, angel, number, form, divinity, relative to which moment of enlovement everything is. So hold on to it by letting go into the stream of it, becoming immersed in forgetfulness. Thus, remember, allowing the moonlight's hanging phases to stream over you in bliss.